Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunakatu Sahaviryankarvavahai Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Mavidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Just let me silence my phone. Okay. So in the last class, we actually discussed a few concepts related to time from the concept of from the Vedanta point of view. Okay, and we also discussed a few aspects of retrogression as well as combustion. We'll come to details regarding all those topics. Okay, but since we are discussing time as to how time is seen in Jyotish. Okay, and we are basically dealing with Kala. That is the reason we have the Kala Purusha chart. Okay, so any discussion on Kala or any discussion on time would be absolutely half-hearted, or would be absolutely incomplete if I don't discuss on the Panchanga. Okay, so this thing was not actually, it was supposed to be included towards the end of this of this course, but then what I understood is that most of the people, they claim to be astrologers without even knowing how to read the Panchanga. Okay, so that is a serious flaw in most of us. And in the previous days of old, right, when this knowledge was still transmitted orally, the first rule for any astrologer was to read the Panchang, and the client had to be told that this is the Panchang. Okay, this is the Panchang that you have. And the Panchang was the first thing that was read while reading a chart. And for any astrologer who is worth his or her salt, he or she could do 80% of the predictions just by looking at the Panchang. Okay, so if the Panchang was strong enough, it was considered that the chart is strong, irrespective of any bad planetary placements and things like that. And I had actually done my first course on Vedic astrology was a course on Panchang, because everyone was doing everyone was doing courses on Vedic astrology, but there were no courses on the Panchang. Okay, so I thought that, okay, let us do this course on the Panchang, so that at least people can know at least 80% of your horoscope without even having to know about the basic planetary placements. Okay, so that course is still available in a recorded form. So maybe after this class, or whenever any one of you wants to access those recordings, okay, they can message me personally. Okay, of course that is not free, but still, if any one of you would be interested in knowing Panchang in details, you can ask me for the recordings. Okay, we had done a total of 16 classes on that on that topic, but today I'll just touch this Panchang in brief. I'll give you a brief idea of what knowledge of the Panchang you need to become a Vedic astrologer, or to keep up with this practice of Vedic astrology. Okay, just let me share my screen. Okay, so Pancha Anga. So Pancha means 5. Okay, and Anga means the limbs. Okay, so Panchanga, it actually refers to the quality of time. All right, Panchanga, it actually refers to the quality of time. All right, and just a minute. I hope the skin is visible to everyone. Yeah. Yeah. So Panchanga, it basically means the quality of time. Okay, so we have 5 elements of the Panchanga. So we have the Tithi, which stands for your relationships. Okay, we have the Vara, which stands for your longevity, which stands for your ability to work, which stands for your digestive ability. Okay, we have the Nakshatra, which tells us a lot about the quality of our mind, of your mind, that is. Okay, then we have the Yoga, which tells you about your capacity to hold things together. Okay, and then we have Karana. So Karana is the primary indicator of your profession. And the reason why most astrologers, they miss on say selecting the right profession or predicting the right profession about the client is because they don't have actually look at the karana. Okay, they don't actually look at the karana, and you know, because they don't look at the karana, they will look at the 10th house, which is absolutely, which is absolutely wrong. How to, how to interpret work. You don't interpret work by looking at the 10th house. Okay, then there are people who will look at the dasamsha to tell your career. Of course, dasamsha can give a lot of hints about your career, but to see what you are actually meant to do, or to see what the divine wants you to do in this lifetime, you actually have to look at the karana lord or the karana. Okay, so we have the lunar months as well. Okay, these are not parts of the panchanga, but I'll try to cover these as well, because these are very important, important aspects of Vedic calculations. Okay, so we have the sidereal month, we have the synodic month, we have the nautical month, and we have the anomalistic month. Okay, so these are the lunar months that that form a very important part of Vedic astrology. Okay, and then we have the cycles of the moon. Again, these are independent of the panchanga, but still we need to know how these things work. Okay, so we have the Metonic cycle, we have the Adhik Masa, which is the intercalary month, right? So most people in India would be actually familiar with the term Adhik Masa. Okay, then we have the Shaya Mas, which is the omitted moon, and finally omitted month, I'm sorry, and finally we have the Paksha. Okay, whether the whether the moon is progressing towards light, which is known as the Shukla Paksha, and whether the moon is progressing towards darkness, which is known as the Krishna Paksha. Okay, so we'll try to have a look. We'll try to have a brief look at all these concepts and how these concepts will actually come into play when you are going into predictions. Okay.
Deepanshu, can you just repeat that slide again for a moment and go over them? Because I missed.
This one?
Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll come to all the topics. Okay, I just gave a brief idea about Paksha. Okay, so Paksha refers to the strength of the moon. Okay, so it actually means whether the moon is moving towards the towards the lighter half, or it is moving towards the towards the towards the darker half. Okay, so if the moon is moving towards light, it is actually known as Shukla Paksha, and if it is moving towards darkness, it is known as Krishna Paksha. Okay, so anyways, I'll just
he's talking about waxing and waning.
Yeah,
no,
waxing and waning. Yes,
that wasn't my question. It was the other three.
Yeah, I'll come to that in details once we complete the panchanga. Okay, I'll just come to that in details. Okay, so the panchang, as we know, as I said, it refers to the quality of time. Okay, and in almost all the Indian homes, the knowledge of astrology, it finds its daily use. Okay, so all the Vedic rituals and even day-to-day pursuits for Indians, they make use of a lot of concepts of astrology. Okay, now when it comes to predictive astrology, it was mainly restricted for the kings. Okay, but the panchang actually helps us to do something which is known as muhurta. Okay, which is also in English it is known as electional astrology. Okay, so predictive astrology was mainly restricted for the kings in ancient times, because it was said that if you are not a ruler, you don't need an astrologer. Okay, the kings needed an astrologer to see who would attack their kingdom, how safe their kingdom was from the attack by by external elements and things like that. And that is the reason why most astrologers, they keep such a high price for the readings, because if you don't do a business of, say, a lot of money, involving a lot of money, you don't really need an astrologer for for your day-to-day pursuits. Okay, but then there is one form of astrology, as I said, it is known as muhurta. Okay, it is also known as electional astrology. So this was the primary concern of the common people. Okay, the Aam Aadmi, so as to say, right? So panchanga can also be referred to as the Indian almanac, right, which details information about the various festivals, okay, about the various rituals and planetary combinations for the purpose of election of a suitable suitable moment. Okay, you're trying to get married. Okay, you're trying to get married, just select a select a particular moment, okay, which will ensure that the marriage is successful. That is the myth that is connected with the panchanga, okay. But to be really honest, okay, to be really honest, a muhurta, a good muhurta does not necessarily imply the success of an event, okay. You will see marriages which have taken place in the best muhurtas, but they have collapsed. You can see governments, the elected rulers or the political leaders, they spend a lot of money to select the right muhurta for assuming office, for taking oath of office, okay. But you'll see that even if the oath has been taken in the best muhurta, which was available in that month or maybe in that day, still the government collapsed. Why has that happened? That has happened because a muhurta is just a time period of 45 minutes that will ensure that whatever function is, whatever function you are carrying out or whatever event you are trying to perform, that event goes on uninterrupted, okay. That is the job of the muhurta. It means, the event, if a good muhurta is selected, the event will be performed uninterrupted. For example, if you're sitting for a marriage and the muhurta is not good, and all of a sudden while the priest is reading mantra, maybe a dog can come in and just jump over the holy fire, or maybe the bride's mother can collapse, and things like that can happen. So an appropriate muhurta is selected so that these rituals, they go on without any interruptions, okay. So this is a common problem that you'll face as astrologers, right? You'll have clients coming and telling you that, sir, my marriage was done in the best of the muhurtas, but it has failed. I don't know why. Because a good muhurta is no guarantee for the success of an event. But still, because myths become facts over a certain period of time, so it is believed that for an event to become successful, okay, for an event to become long lasting, you must select a good muhurta, okay. But that is more of a myth, but what I shared is the fact, okay. Anyways, coming to the panchang, right? So the panchang, it consists of 5 parts: the tithi, vara, nakshatra, yoga, and karana, okay. So tithi is also known as the lunar date, okay. Tithi is also known as the lunar date, and vara, as I said, vara is the day of the week in which you are born. Nakshatra is also known as the lunar asterism or the lunar mansion. Yoga, as I said, it is the ability of yours to hold things together. And then karana, which is the primary indicator of your profession, okay. Now coming to these 5 parts, right? So the vara, or the day of the week, this is a function of the sun, okay. This is the function of the sun, and the other parts of the panchanga, they depend upon the disposition of the moon, okay. So this is the reason why why the moon is known as the queen, okay, because it deals with 4 elements of your life. It is controlling 4 elements of your life, which are very, very important, right? Only the vara element of the panchanga is being controlled by the sun, but the other 4 parts of the panchanga, they are being controlled by the moon. And that is the reason, if the moon is afflicted, the person will go through a lot of problems in life, okay. Other planets, they may be in bad positions, they may be having certain good planetary dignitaries, everything, considering everything, the sun and the moon are the most important. That is the reason the sun and the moon are regarded as the universal father or universal mother, and they are never retrograde, okay. The last class I spoke why the sun and moon, they are never retrograde, because they are the they are the rulers of the chart. Nowadays it has become a habit of people to place more importance on Saturn, okay, Shani Dev, right, Guru, how Guru is such a great planet, how Saturn is such a great planet. But at the end of the day, if your sun and moon are strong, you can you can deal with any kind of obstacle in your life, and take that from me as a as a commitment, okay. Now coming to the lunar months, okay, I'll come to the panchanga in a while. Coming to the lunar months, so the moon, it goes around the earth once in a lunar month, okay, and like other planets, it moves from west to east along the zodiac, although the rotation of the earth makes it appear to be moving in the reverse direction. So this is basic astronomy, right? So one revolution of the moon around the earth will produce something which is known as a lunar month, okay. And as I said, these are the 4 types of lunar month that we will look at, okay. The sidereal month, so this is a period of time when the moon makes 1 round of the zodiac as observed from the earth, okay. So the duration is approximately equal to 27.32 mean solar days, okay. Or if you round it off to minutes and hours, it will be 27 days, 7 hours and 43 minutes approximately, okay. So what happens is that during this period of the moon, when observed against a fixed star, the moon moves around the zodiac once and then it returns to the same star. Okay, so this is the, this is the sidereal month, right? Then we have the synodic month. Okay, so this is a period of time which elapses between one new moon and the next. Okay, and if you calculate it in terms of days, it will be around 29.5 days, if I'm not mistaken. And by rounding it to hours and minutes, it will be 29 days and 12 hours and some approximate minutes. Okay, so the synodic month is also known as lunation. Okay, and the new moon, as we know, it indicates a conjunction of the sun and the moon. Okay, and people who have a conjunction of the sun and the moon in the horoscope, this is one thing that you can you can see for, you can use in predictive astrology. People who have a conjunction of the sun and the moon in the horoscope, they will never listen to their past, they will never listen to their spouse. Okay, they will never ever listen to their spouse. Just take this from me in writing. Okay, so the synodic month is larger than a sidereal month because it indicates the relation of the moon with the sun. Okay, and then during one revolution of the moon, the sun too moves along the zodiac by by slightly less than one sign. Okay, and to catch up with the sun, right, to catch up with the sun in order to complete a synodic month, the moon therefore has to take some extra time. All right, then we have the nautical month, right? And this nautical month is actually responsible for the formation of Rahu and Ketu. Okay, because the intersection of the ecliptic by the moon's path results in the formation of ascending and descending nodes of the moon, which are known as the north node as the south node, that is Rahu and Ketu. So we had discussed this in the last class as well, right? And Rahu and Ketu, these are the these are the demons. They are highly demonic in by nature. Okay, and that is the reason they are always retrograde. Just as the sun and the moon are never retrograde, the nodes of the moon, they are they are always retrograde. And if someone asks you how many nodes does do we have in astrology, you will say that each planet has 2 nodes. Okay, but our main concern is the nodes of the moon. All right, even Saturn will have 2 nodes. Okay, even even Jupiter will have 2 nodes, but our prime concern are the nodes of the moon, right? So nautical month is the time that the moon takes to complete one round from Rahu to Rahu. Okay, so the time to taken by the moon to complete one round from Rahu to Rahu, that's the nautical month. And because Rahu moves in a retrograde direction, it makes the moon slightly earlier along the zodiac. Okay, so the duration of the nautical month is approximately 27.21 solar days. Okay, just give me some, there is a power cut out here, just give me 1 minute. Okay, so where was I? Yes, so I was at the point when I said that the nautical month is the time that the moon takes to complete one round from Rahu to Rahu. Okay, and since Rahu always moves in a retrograde direction, it meets the moon slightly earlier along the zodiac. Okay, and the duration of the nautical month is approximately 27.21 days. Okay, then we have the we have the anomalistic month, right? So the anomalistic month is the duration of the time that the moon takes to complete one revolution around the earth. Okay, so that that motion is considered in its orbit from perigee to perigee, right? And the duration the duration is approximately 27.56 days. Okay, now we have to while considering the lunar month, or while considering the motion of the moon, we have to we have to take note of a few things. Okay, we have to understand that the moon loops around the earth in an elliptical orbit, just like the earth does around the sun. Okay, and the orbit itself is in a constant flux due to the disturbances that are or the perturbations that are caused by the sun and the planets. Okay, so what is perigee? Perigee is the point at which the moon in orbit around the earth is at the least distance from the earth. Okay, that is the word called perigee. Okay, someone will call this perigee as well. That is also correct, right? And the reverse of perigee is known as apogee. Okay,
so can you repeat it once again?
Yeah, I'm saying that this anomalistic month, it is the duration of the time that moon takes to complete one revolution around the earth. Okay, and that revolution will happen, of course, in its orbit from one perigee to other perigee. Okay. Now, when I use the word perigee, okay, some people will call it as perigee as well. Okay, when I use the word perigee, there are two words actually, perigee and apogee. Okay,
Varsiji, can you take one moment to spell it for us, please?
Perigee. That is perigee, and then there is another word which is known as apogee, apogee. So as children, we have all heard about perihelion and ephelion, isn't it? Right? So where does that word come from? Helios is the, it is the word for the sun, right? Helios is the Greek name for the sun. And perihelion is actually coming from the word perigee, and ephelion is actually coming from the word apogee, right? As children, we never bother to understand their meanings, but this is what it means. Okay, so the moon, as I said, the moon, it will loop around the earth in an elliptical orbit, right? Just like the earth loops around the sun, right? Now this orbit itself, it will be in a constant flux. Okay, it will be a constant flux due to perturbations that are caused by the sun and the planets. Okay, the orbit is not fixed. Okay, it's not, it's not like a string which is held tightly at both ends. Okay, it is in fluctual motion. Okay, so this perigee, it is the point at which the moon in the orbit around the earth is at the least distance from the earth, and the reverse, that means the point at which the moon in orbit around the earth is at the greatest distance from the earth, that is known as apogee. Okay, so this apogee, it actually signifies that this moon in orbit, right, it is farthest from the earth. Okay, so an anomalistic lunar month is the lunar equivalent to the solar anomalistic year, which indicates the passage of the sun around the earth from perigee to perigee. Okay, that means, as I said, it indicates the passage of the earth around the sun from perihelion to perihelion to perihelion. Okay, so as I said, perihelion and ephelion, they are actually derived from the words perigee and apogee. They are the equivalents of perigee and apogee because in Greek, the sun's name is Helios. Okay, and the sun is actually the center and the planets are orbiting around it. Okay. So now we'll come to something which are known as the cycles of the moon. Okay, we'll come to Panchanga. So a lunar year, generally considered for astrological purpose, is a synodic year consisting of 12 synodic months amounting to a duration of approximately 354 days. Okay, so this lunar year will contain 360 tithis. Okay, and that means if you divide 360 by 12, you get 30. Okay, so that means you will have 30 tithis in a synodic month, right? And this year it will fall short of a solar year by around 365.25 days. By around 11 days, right? The solar year is of 365.25 days. The lunar year is approximately of 354 days, and this year will actually be the difference between the solar year and the lunar year will be by 11 days. Okay, so what will happen is, if a total lunar calendar was followed, okay, the various seasons would fail to coincide with the lunar months. Why? Because a lunar year would end 11 days earlier than a solar year, right? So what it would mean is that it would mean a difference over a month every 3 solar years, right? So in order to compensate for this and to make the solar and lunar calendars function side by side, the system that we use in Vedic astrology is a luni-solar concept. Okay, this is a luni-solar concept, so that extra lunar month is considered approximately every 3 years or earlier. Okay, so this extra lunar month, which is periodically taken into consideration in order to bring harmony between the solar and lunar calendars, is known as the Adhik Mas or the intercalary month. Okay, so we've all heard about Adhik Masa, isn't it? Last year, Durga Puja was postponed by 30 days because of the Adhik Mas, right? So it is also known as Mala Mas in the eastern part of India. Okay. Yes, Sudhaj.
Is that the same as Chaturmas?
Yeah, it is the same.
Okay.
So the use of various yugas, which actually consist of 3-year cycles, maybe 5-year cycles, maybe 8-year cycles, okay, 11-year cycles, 19-year cycles, and 30-year cycles. So these, these are actually attempts by Vedic astronomers to harmonize the solar and lunar years. Okay, and the 19-year cycle actually appears to be the most accurately observed yuga or cycle. Okay, and this 19-year cycle, it it consists of 7 interstellar months over a period of 19 solar years, right? So what it means is that in a period of 228 solar months, there are around 235 lunar synodic months, which would actually indicate new moons or full moons. Okay, so this is the Adhik Masa. Okay, then the Metonic cycle. Okay, so this is actually named after the great astronomer Meton. Okay, so he was he was regarded as one of the greatest astronomers of Europe. He lived in 433 before Common Era. Okay, so what he said that it was his discovery that there occurs around 235 lunations in a period of 19 solar years. Okay, and if that happens, right? So if that happens, it
Can
will
you repeat that? The number?
235. Okay, 235 lunations, right, in a period of 19 solar years. And if that happens, so it will be seen that the total number of days in 19 years. So you multiply 365.2422 by 19. You will actually get a figure of 6. Let me do the calculations. Yeah, just multiply 365 by 19. Where's my phone? Yeah, you multiply 365.2422 by 19. You will get 6939.60. Okay, multiply 365.2422 by 19. You will get 6939.60. Okay, so now now multiply 29.5306 by 235. Okay, 29.5306 by 235 will actually get 6939.69. Okay, so these are the total number of days in 235 lunar synodic months. Okay, and you see these two figures, they are remarkably close, isn't it? They are remarkably close. So what it means is that that a period of 19 years or or 228 solar months is equivalent to around 235 lunar months, or 19 lunar years plus 7 lunar months. Okay, so what we have already seen with the with the Adhik Mas concept is that there actually occur 7 Adhik Masas in 19 years. So the calculation is very, very similar to what the Vedic astronomers calculated. Okay, so this 19 years of this luni solar cycle, so as to say, it is so accurate that that the tithis or lunar dates recur or fall on similar days after exactly 19 years, and this is the basis of the Panchanga. Okay, the people who write the Panchanga in India, you will always find the Panchanga in most of the houses. Okay, in most of the Hindu households. Why? Because the accuracy is so it is so brilliant, right, that you'll see that all the tithis, they will either recur or they will fall on on similar days after exactly 19 years, right? And this concept also extends to astronomical phenomenon like eclipses, which will recur after every 19-year intervals. Okay, and the precision is excellent, so as to say. Okay, so coming to the concept of the Adhik Masa again. So the sun changes its sign or rashi every month. Okay, so that is known as the Sankranti, right? It is in English, it is known as solar ingress. Okay, it is the day where the sun enters the sign. Okay, a lunar month in which there is no solar ingress into a sign is considered to be the Adhik Mas. So this is the simple definition. Okay, a lunar month in which the sun does not change its sign, okay, or the sun does not ingress into a sign, that is considered to be an interstellar month or a Adhik Masa. Okay, so what it means is that the Adhik Masa will occur once in 32 solar months and 16 days. Okay, so that means roughly in roughly in 3 years, okay, roughly once in 3 years, there would be an interstellar month. Okay, and just a minute. Yeah, so what it means is that roughly once in 3 years, okay, there would be a Adhik Mas, right? Because during this year there would be, there would be 13, and during such a year there would be 13 lunar months. Okay, so this is something that we have to understand. Okay, now we come to the Shaya Masa, or the or the omitted month. Okay, so what happens when is a month omitted? It will happen when the sun will enter 2 signs during 1 lunar month. Okay, that means when there are 2 solar ingresses in 1 lunar month, then we will have the Shaya Masa, or the omitted month. Okay, so this happens very infrequently, right? And whenever there is an omitted month, they will occur to Adhik Masa during 1 year. Okay, then we come to Paksha. As I said, Paksha refers to the journey of the moon towards the brighter half and the darker half. Okay, so the Paksha will comprise of 15 lunar dates. So we'll see the connection of the Tithi with the Paksha. Okay, so 2 Pakshas will make 1 lunar month. So the Krishna Paksha, it extends from Purnima to Amavasya. Purnima, of course, is the full moon. Amavasya is the new moon. While the Shukla Paksha will extend from the new moon to the full moon. Okay. So, while studying the moon, as I said, the most important are the nodes of the moon, right? And what I mentioned was that the apparent path of the moon intersects the ecliptic obliquely at 2 points, and these 2 points are known as the nodes, right? So this is similar to the sun's path or the ecliptic intersecting the equator at an oblique angle, right? So the point where the moon crosses the ecliptic from the south to the north is known as the it is known as the ascending node, or Rahu. Okay, and the point where the moon crosses the ecliptic from north to south, it is known as the descending node, or the Ketu. Okay, and these 2 mathematical points, they are they are 6 degrees or 180 degrees, 6 signs or 180 degrees apart. So that is the reason we'll always have a difference of Rahu and Ketu. Suppose Rahu is in the 1st house, Ketu will always be in the 7th house. Rahu is in the 2nd house, Ketu will always be in the 8th house. So this is the this is the degree difference between Rahu and Ketu. Okay, and of course some higher charts will have Rahu and Ketu together. That has a completely different meaning, which we will see maybe in the advanced course. Okay, so just as the equinoctial point shifts westwards on the ecliptic, just as the equinoctial point shifts westward, okay, what happens is the moon's orbit intersects the ecliptic at a constantly shifting point. Okay, so what will happen is, because the reason why I'm saying that Rahu and Ketu are retrograde, because astronomically they are they are receding or shifting westward along the ecliptic. Okay, astronomically they are always receding, or they are always shifting westward along the ecliptic, right? And that is if you consider this motion, they will complete 1 round of that zodiac in approximately 18 years and 10 days. Okay, now you can see why a Rahu Dasha is considered to be of 18 years. Okay, why a Rahu Dasha is considered to be of 18 years. Now someone might ask why a Ketu Dasha is of course of 7 years. There is no there is no justification given by Parashara on considering the time period for the Dashas. Okay, anyways, we are far from entering into Vimshottari and other forms of Dashas. So as I said, Rahu and Ketu, although they are mere astronomical points, they have a very special status in Vedic astrology. Okay, they are treated as grahas, or planets like any other planet. Okay, so we have 7 planets with bodies, and we have 2 special planets which do not have a body. Okay, they are mathematical points, but they are they are very, very special because they they are extremely important in making your predictions. Okay, so we'll stop here for say 3 to 5 minutes. We can take a break, and then we can continue after 5 minutes. Okay, so the nodes of the moon. Okay, so why I'm stressing on on Rahu and Ketu is is because they are extremely important. So important that you can actually have a have a separate course on how Rahu and Ketu behave. Okay. So anyways, just look at the diagram here, right? This is very important in understanding because as I said, the orbit of the Earth around the Sun, okay, and the orbit of the Moon around the Earth. Okay? So Rahu and Ketu, they are formed whenever the Moon's orbit intersects the apparent path of the Sun around the Earth. Okay, so we will come to the eclipses now. Okay, so eclipses are something that are very feared, right? Just about an eclipse is about to happen, maybe our grandparents will tell us, and don't do this, don't do that, something bad will happen, someone might die, and the frenzy has been contributed nowadays by YouTube astrologers. So we'll do a lot of videos on eclipses, on how each ascendant should adjust himself or herself as per the eclipse. Okay, there is a fear mongering which is made on the on eclipses. Okay, but before you understand eclipses from a psychological point of view, because astrology is also about psychology. Okay, the planets, they will influence you here in the mind. Okay, they cannot influence you anywhere else except the mind. Okay, so eclipses are more of a psychological phenomenon. Okay, but then we also need to understand eclipses from a astronomical point of view. Okay, so just look at these diagrams here. So there are two kinds of eclipses that we know, that we have all studied in high school. Okay, so solar eclipse and lunar eclipse, right? So when does the solar eclipse occur? It occurs when the shadow of the Earth, shadow of the Moon falls on the Earth, right? So what it means is that at the time of a solar eclipse, the Moon happens to lie between the Sun and the Earth. Okay, and this will anyways happen on a new moon day when the Sun and the Moon are conjunct. Okay, and they are on the same side of the Earth, right? And since the orbit of the Moon is tilted at an angle of approximately 5 degrees to the ecliptic, the Sun, Moon, and Earth combination, they will not always fall on one straight line in every new moon day. Okay, that is the reason there is no eclipse every time that there is a new moon. All right. Then the lunar eclipse, this happens when the moon, when the moon lies opposite to the Sun, with the Earth intervening between the two, right? The shadow of the Earth falls on the Moon, and this will happen on a full moon day only. Okay? Only when the Sun, Moon, and only when the Sun, Earth, and Moon, they are together in one straight line. Okay, and because as just like the solar eclipse, because the obliquity of the Moon's path to the ecliptic, this situation will not arise during every full moon. Okay, so as I have been pointing out repeatedly, the Moon's path crosses the Sun's path at the ascending and the descending nodes, that is Rahu and Ketu. Okay, so what it also means is that the Moon is must be fairly close to Rahu and Ketu. Okay, and the Sun must also be close enough to ensure that the Earth, the Sun, and the Moon, they fall on a straight line. Okay, so swallowed by Rahu or swallowed by Ketu. This is an expression that is applied to to the Sun or the Moon when they are swallowed by the nodes, right? And if you as we proceed deeper, as we take a deep dive, we'll understand that Rahu is the #1 enemy of the Sun and Ketu is the #1 enemy of the Moon. A lot of good things have been said about Ketu Moon combination, that oh my god, this combination is so good, this combination makes you intuitive, this combination is that, this combination is this. But if you have Moon and Ketu, things can become very difficult. Okay, if you have Sun and Rahu, things can become very difficult. You can have a very difficult relationship with your parents. Okay, just for start, right? Now the solar eclipse is likely to occur if if a new moon occurs within 18.5 degrees of the node. Okay, and if the distance is less than 15 degrees, right? And likewise, a lunar eclipse will occur on a full moon day. Okay, that is when the Sun and the Moon are opposite to each other. Okay, and this is most likely to occur when the distance between the Moon and the node is less than 12 degrees. Okay, and it will certainly occur if the if the distance between the Moon and the node is less than about 9.5 degrees, right? So in any given year, okay, around 7 eclipses. Okay, and that is a maximum of 7 eclipses, like 4 or 5 solar eclipses and 2 or 3 lunar eclipses, they are possible. Okay, so we don't have much to fear about eclipses except the psychological part, right? We will deal with eclipses separately once we go into the into the deeper dimensions of astrology. Okay. All right then, Tithi. Okay, Tithi. So Tithi is also referred to as a lunar date. Okay, so as I said, there are 30 lunar dates or Tithis of 12 degrees each. So just multiply 30 by 12, you will get 360 degrees, right? So this Tithi is indicative of the moon's separation from the sun. Okay, and you don't have to do it because the software will calculate it for you. And most of the softwares are usually accurate on the Tithis. They will not mess it up, right? But astronomically or mathematically, it can be calculated by subtracting the longitude of the sun from the longitude of the moon and then dividing the above value by 12. Okay, so the quotient plus 1 will give the number of Tithi operating on any particular day. Okay, so
Deepanshu, can you repeat that equation, please?
yeah, longitude of the moon longitude of the sun subtracted from the longitude of the moon, then divide that number by 12. Whatever number you arrive at, add 1 to it to arrive at the particular Tithi of the day. Okay, so the Tithis, they are counted from the first half or the bright half of Shukla Paksha. Okay, as we know, the sun and the moon, they will always coincide when the 30th Tithi or the Amavasya Tithi is happening, right? And then the moon will overtake the sun. Okay, the moon will overtake the sun, but it lies within its 12 degrees. Okay, as when it lies within its 12 degrees, it becomes the first lunar date of the Shukla Paksha, which is the Shukla Pratipad. Okay, and at 180 degrees separation, when the moon is opposed to the sun, it is the 15th of the Shukla Paksha, which is known as Purnima. Okay, it is the Purnima. That is when the sun and the moon, they are directly opposite to each other, right? And from here onwards, the Krishna Paksha or the darker half will start. Okay, so again, the Tithi will start from the first and will go up to the 15th. So the 15th Tithi of Krishna Paksha is known as Amavasya, when the sun and the moon conjoin. Okay, so of course, Tithis have a lot of significance. Okay, each Tithi will be lorded by a different planet. Okay, each Tithi will be lorded by a different planet. And even Rahu is given the rulership of of a Tithi, which is Amavasya. Okay, which is Ashtami. So Rahu also has rulership of Tithis, and the Tithi Lord has a very important say in your relationships. Okay, I'll not divulge more information than this because we are still dealing into the with the astronomical part, with the calculative part, rather than with the predictive part. Okay.
Sir, Rahu is the Tithi Lord of Ashtami.
Yes, Rahu is the Tithi Lord of Ashtami. So the Tithi that is operating at the time of sunrise. Yeah, Shraddha, tell me.
Hello, sir. Sir, suppose Saptami is ended and Ashtami started from afternoon today, but it will be till tomorrow 11:30 or 12. So, which one to be considered?
Yeah,
Tomorrow
I'm coming to that part.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So the Tithi that is operating at the at the time of sunrise on a particular day, it is that Tithi which is supposed to be operating on that whole day. Okay, and we have two other Tithis as well, which is the Vriddhi Tithi and the Shaya Tithi. This is Shraddhaji's question. Okay, so what is Vriddhi Tithi? Vriddhi is that Tithi that extends from before sunrise on one day to after sunrise on the next day. Okay, a Tithi that extends from before sunrise on one day to after sunrise on the next day is known as Vriddhi Tithi. So such a Tithi will operate on 2 successive days. Okay, then we have the Shaya Tithi or the omitted Tithi. Okay, so a Tithi that begins after sunrise and ends before the next sunrise, that is known as the Shaya Tithi. Okay, so this Tithi is supposed to miss its operation during that lunar cycle. Okay, and if you have too much confusion, just look at the software. Okay, you have a free software. Narasimha Raj's, I've forgotten the name. Oh my god.
Jagannath Hura, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, Jhora. Okay, you have a free software, Jhora. You can look at it. You have a Jyotish app. Okay, you look at it, you'll find it out. Okay, so
Deepanshu, can you repeat just the names of those two tithis?
Yeah, the additional tithi is known as the Vriddhi tithi, Vriddhi, and the omitted tithi is known as the Shaya tithi.
Vritti and Shaya.
Yes, Vriddhi and Shaya. Yeah. So tithi, as I said, is extremely important in performing day-to-day rituals and ceremonies, as well as in Muhurta astrology. Okay, but the most important factor is of the tithi, or the most important function of the tithi, is to find out the quality of your relationships, because the tithi lord is the ultimate, ultimate authority of your relationships. Okay, people look at relationships, oh my god, my marriage is not working, do remedies for the seventh lord. No, it does not work that way. Okay, the tithi lord is important. It's very, very important. And to have good relationships, to have a good understanding of relationships, your tithi lord must fall in water signs, even if it is the sun, even if it is Mars. Okay, if the tithi lord is going to the water sign, it is very, very good. You will have an extremely good understanding of relationships. If your tithi lord is in the fire sign, Gaya. Okay, the relationship is as good as gone. You have to do a lot of remedies, and you have to do a lot of pacifications of that tithi lord, because the tithi lord is the god of your relationships. Okay, your relationship's not working, go and fall at the feet of the tithi lord. Help me out. Okay, your seventh lord has the least say in your relationships. Okay, so then
So
we
if
have,
it is in the earth sign,
if it is in the earth sign, it will it will cause breakage. Okay, it will cause breakage due to misunderstandings. Of course, I don't mean I don't mean a breakage, like, I don't mean a separation here, but it will cause a lot of misunderstandings. Okay, it will cause a lot of misunderstandings because the tithi lord is Jala. Okay, and what does earth do? It will absorb the water. Okay, so initially the relationship will have a lot of spark, right? A lot of Jala, a lot of water. So tithi lord in the seventh house, those people are philanders. Okay, philanders by me, I don't mean going from one man to the other, going from one woman to the other, but the spark in the relationship will always be there.
so it is in the Aries sign. If it is in the Aries sign,
Aries sign, okay, I am in this relationship. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Let me find someone else. Let me find something better. Because air is always looking to grow. Okay, it is always spreading from one part to the other. Okay, so best is the
water sign.
water sign. Okay,
What did you say for the fire sign?
it will make you dry. It will make you dry. The other person will come, oh my god, I am with a dry person. This person does not have emotions. This person does not have this. This person does not have this. Oh my god, why have I ended up with this person? Okay, so the spouse will always complain that you don't have enough emotions towards a relationship. Right now, people say a debilitated Mars is bad. Okay, just take this example. A debilitated Mars is bad. But then if Mars is the tithi lord and it is going into Cancer, then it's excellent. Okay, so there are layers and layers that you have to see while interpreting. Okay. All right. So next we come to yogas. Okay. Not compiled here. Okay. So we have covered tithi. Okay. So we'll look at yoga. So as I said, yoga is your ability to, yoga is your ability to hold things together. Okay. If you're born in a good yoga, you will be very good at holding things together. Maybe you're very good at holding money together. Maybe you're very good at holding relationships together. Maybe maybe as a, as a housewife, you're very good at holding the house together. You're holding the family together. So that is your holding factor, which is the yoga. Okay. So, there are, just a minute. The 27 yogas. Okay, and each measuring, you divide 360 by 27, you'll get 13 degrees and 20 minutes. So each yoga is of 13 degrees 20 minutes each. So the yoga, it indicates a sum of the longitudes of the moon and the sun in multiples of 13 degrees 20 minutes. Okay, and there is no link between a yoga and a nakshatra. Okay, there is no link between the yoga and a nakshatra. And just a minute, to block it again. Like, I'm really sorry. We have had a really bad weather since the last few weeks. Only yesterday the weather has improved. Okay. All right. So as I said, there is no relationship between the yoga and the nakshatra. Okay. And as I said, there are, how to find it out by calculation. You use the software. Okay. You don't have to do the complex mathematical calculation, right? But if you want to do the calculations, then you add the Nirjana longitudes of the sun and the moon, and then divide the resultant number by 13 degrees 20 minutes. Okay, the Nirjana longitudes of sun and moon, add them and divide the resultant number by 13 degrees 20 minutes. So whatever number you get, add 1 to it. Okay, add 1 to it, that will give you the yoga. Okay, so there are 27 yogas, right? So we have the Vishkumbha yoga. Okay, we have Priti yoga, we have Ayushman yoga. Okay, we have Saubhagya yoga. There is a way to remember yogas. I'll not teach you that. Okay, try to find out what works best for you and then remember it. Okay, there is the Shobhana yoga. There is the Atigandha yoga. There is the Sukarna yoga. There is Thriti yoga. There is Shul yoga. There is Gandha yoga. There is Vriddhi yoga. There is Dhruv yoga. There is Vyaghata yoga. There is Harshana yoga. There is Vajra yoga. There is Siddhi yoga. Then there is Vyatipata yoga. Then there is Variyana yoga. Then there is Parigha yoga. Then there is Shiva yoga. Then there is Siddha yoga. Then there is Sadhya yoga. Then there is Shubha yoga. Then there is Shukla yoga. Then there is Brahma yoga. Then there is Indra yoga, and finally we have the Vaidriti yoga. Okay, so yoga, as I said, they find extensive use in Muhurta astrology and also in day-to-day rituals. Okay, so if someone is about to get married and the marriage is is happening on a bad yoga, that means the Muhurta is falling on a bad yoga, it's a strict no. Okay, that is how it works. All right. So next we have the Karana. So as I said, Karana is the it is the determinant of one's work or one's profession. Okay, so Karana is half a tithi, right? So or 360 minutes of arc. Okay, so in 30 tithis there would be exactly 60 Karanas, because half a tithi will be 30 into 2 is 60. So there will be 60 half tithis or Karanas. Okay. And amongst the Karanas, there are 4 very difficult Karanas. Okay, so these Karanas, someone who needs to mute. Okay, yeah. So there are difficult Karanas. Amongst the Karanas, there are difficult Karanas. Okay, and there are out of those difficult Karanas, there are 4 in number. Okay, they are 4 in number. Okay, and just show it here. Okay. So there are 4 Karanas which are considered to be difficult. Okay, and they are known as the fixed Karanas. Okay, and they will occur only once in a lunar month. So the first difficult Karana is Shakuni Karana. Okay, it happens in the second half of Krishna.
Deepanshu, sorry, could you spell it for us or write it?
Shakuni. There is a character in Mahabharata who is known as Shakuni, isn't it? So it is known as the Shakuni Karana. Okay. So it happens on the second half of Krishna Chaturdashi Tithi. Okay. Then there is Chatushpada Karana. Chatushpada means 4-footed. Okay. So it happens on the first half of Amavasya Tithi. Then there is Naga Karana, which happens on the second half of Amavasya, and then there is Kinstubna Karana, which happens on the first part of Shukla Pratipat. Okay, so these 4 Karanas, they are very, very difficult in the sense that if birth happens in either of these 4 Karanas, the person can find very, very difficult, and the person can find a lot of difficulty in getting work, okay, or in getting employed. There would be people you see who
Sir, what is the 4th one?
Shakuni, the first one is Shakuni, the second one is Chatuspada,
Chatushpad, Naga,
and the 4th one is Kinstubna or Kimstubna.
Kimstupa. How do you spell that?
Kinstubna, Kinstughna, Kinstubna.
Thanks.
Software will show it as Kimstubna also, but the pronunciation is more or less the same. Okay.
Can you
So
spell it again, Deepanshu?
Tughna. Kinstughna. Kinstugna. So out of these 4 Karanas, Shakuni and Chatuspada, they are ruled by Rahu. Naga and Kinstugna, they are ruled by Ketu. Okay, so this is how Rahu and Ketu will cause misery in one's life. Okay, if someone is having these 4 Karanas, these people can find it very, very difficult to get employed or to find work. Okay, sometimes as astrologers, you'll actually, you'll actually find that some client has come to you and he or she is very, 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 very well educated, very, very well qualified, but work is not being found. In that case, check the Karana. If they are born in these difficult Karanas, then appropriate remedies have to be done. Okay. So as I said, there are 60 Karanas. Okay, but they will be recurring, 4 Karanas will be recurring just once in a lunar month, and the remaining 7 Karanas, they will recur 8 times during the rest of the month. Okay, so what are the Karanas? We have the Bhava Karana, we have the Balava Karana, we have the Kaulava Karana, we have the Taitula Karana, we have the Gara Karana, we have the Vanija Karana, we have the Vishti Karana. Okay, Vishti Karana is another difficult Karana, but still it is not as difficult as the other 4 difficult ones. Okay. So these Karanas, they will recur in regular order, starting from the, from the second half of Shukla Pratipad till the first half of Krishna Chaturdashi. Okay. And again, as I said, some these Karanas will also have a lot of use in predictive astrology or in finding out Muhurtas. Okay. So the Karana Lord is the primary determinant of your profession. So if you are facing any problems related to work, or any difficulties in finding a job, or maybe any difficulties in doing a business, then you have to appease the Karana Lord. Okay, people are looking at 10th Lord and saying you must do this. It's a very wrong way to read a chart. Absolutely wrong way. The 10th house is nowhere related to your work. Okay. Now we'll come to some, astronomical facts. I have told a lot about Rahu and Ketu, so I'll not explain Rahu and Ketu again. Okay, if I explain more, then maybe Rahu and Ketu will just come and make me the Chalo ho gaya, you've told a lot about us. Maybe discuss about the other, other planets. Okay, so understand this. Okay, I told you in the first class itself that the most important planet in astrology is the sun. Okay, if the sun is strongly placed in the D1 and the D9, and the D10, you can become a good astrologer. Okay, you have to give a lot of importance to the sun, right? Don't make a mistake of what other astrologers or other people who are learning from YouTube groups or maybe Facebook groups are doing, right? They are saying Saturn is the most important planet. Some are saying Jupiter is the most important planet. Some are saying Rahu is the most important planet. That is absolutely a wrong way to look at astrology. The sun is the most important planet. Okay. So the sun, this is the most important of the Navagrahas, right? And the sun is the nearest star in space with all the planets revolving around it. Okay, and it is the source of life. Okay, it is the source of all the natural light and heat on the earth. Okay, so what happens is that we have learned this in high school. Okay, the sun provides the centripetal force to balance the centrifugal force that is generated by the planets going around it, right? And the diameter is almost 1.5 million kilometers, which is very, which is almost 100 times the diameter of the earth. Okay, and the mass of the sun, of course, is billion times greater than the mass of the earth. Okay, and it has extremely high extremely high temperatures on the surface. Okay, and it goes on producing immense amounts of energy. Okay, and at one point of time, okay, the sun was considered to be the center of the universe, not by Vedic scholars but by Western scholars, right? And now what we know is that it lies near the edge of a spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, which is around 30,000 light years away from the galactic center and sharing the general rotation of the galaxy. Okay, so I'm not giving out the astrological facts. Okay, astrological facts are different. These are just astronomical things about the planets. All right, then the moon is the satellite of the earth. Okay, and as I said, it is very, very important in Vedic astrology because it controls 4 parts of the Panchanga out of the 5. Okay, it is the fastest moving planets, right? And it has the usual west to east movement along the zodiac. It has a relatively small size, right? And the diameter is about, it's only about around 3.5 thousand kilometers. Okay, and the average distance of the Earth from the moon is around is around 300,000 kilometers. Okay, and it will always present the same face towards the Earth. Right, this is a very peculiar fact, but this is possible because it takes the same time to rotate once on its axis as it does to revolve once around the Earth in its orbit, which is of course 27.3 days. Okay, so since the rotation around the axis is in a uniform motion, okay, and while the motion in orbit is not, what happens is that we are sometimes able to see an extra strip of the moon's surface on one side or the other. Okay, so scientifically, around 59% of the total surface of the moon is visible to us on the Earth at one time or the other, and this phenomenon is of course known as liberation. Okay, the luminosity of the moon, we know it is caused by the light from the sun. It is the varying relative positions of the sun and the moon that will produce the phases of the moon. Okay, so these phases, as I said, they are extremely important because they form the base of tithis. Okay, then we come to Mars, right? So remember the planets as per the order of the weekday. So sun, the moon, then we have Mars, which is Tuesday. Okay, so Mars is the first of the outer planets, and it is the fourth in order of the distance from the sun. Okay, so its orbit, which is the orbit of Mars, it is highly elliptical, and so at its closest position to the Earth, it is only about 56 million kilometers from the Earth, while at its farthest it may reach around 100 million kilometers. So we'll come to these topics again when we discuss retrogression, right? So the brilliance of Mars in the sky, it will depend upon its location in the orbit, and Mars is only twice as large as the moon because it's the moon diameter of the moon was around 3.5 thousand kilometers. So of Mars it is around 6.5 thousand kilometers. Okay, and this planet, that is Mars, is at a mean distance of 227.8 million kilometers from the sun. Okay, the synodic period of moon is the synodic period of Mars is around 780 days. Okay, which is the interval between Martian oppositions to the sun with the Earth lying in between. Okay, so Mars rotates on its total axis in 1.02 days, and it will have an orbital period of around 687 days. Okay, so we know that Mars has two small satellites which are known as Phobos and Deimos. Okay, so then Mercury, we know that Mercury is the nearest planet to the sun. That is the reason Sun and Mercury will always be together in any birth chart. Okay, 95% of all birth charts, the Sun and Mercury will always be together. Okay, Mercury will be alone in very, very rare cases, and in case Mercury is alone, you can blindly predict that the person will not listen to anyone. Okay, just look at any chart where Mercury is alone, the person will not look at anyone. Will not listen to anyone, not take anyone's advice. Just look at it. Okay, and see. So the proximity of Mercury to the sun, it makes it extremely hot. Okay, and it has a very eccentric orbit, so that its minimum distance from the sun, which is perihelion, is much it's much less than the maximum distance, which is aphelion. Okay, and just remember this astronomical fact that the planet will have its maximum orbital speed at perihelion and minimum at aphelion. Okay, so the mean distance from the sun is approximately 58 million kilometers, and Mercury has a diameter of around 4.8 thousand kilometers. Okay, and it will rotate once around its axis in around 58 days, right? And it is quite precisely 2/3 of its orbital period of around of about 88 Earth days. So we have covered Mercury. Next we come to Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter is the largest planet of the solar system. Okay, so the mass of Jupiter exceeds all of the other planets combined. Okay, and it has a rapid spin movement. Okay, considering its huge mass, it has a rapid spin movement, and what happens because of that spin movement, it causes a bulge at its equator. Okay, it is very, very massive as compared to almost 300 times as massive as the Earth. Okay, but it is very, very less, it is very, very small than the sun, right? And because it is far away from the sun, Jupiter is a cold planet. Okay, the gaseous cloud around it has a temperature of around 140 degrees Celsius below the freezing point. Okay, so Jupiter, as we know, there are several satellites which are present, which Jupiter has several moons, okay, around 16 to 18 of them, which will always circle around the planet, right? So why this is one of the reasons why Jupiter is known as the guru, because Jupiter is not only it not only has a huge mass and a rapid spin, it will also protect the Earth from getting hit by the asteroids of the asteroid belt. Okay, that is the reason the guru is always protecting the disciple, isn't it? That is the reason Jupiter is known as the guru. Just look at astronomical facts about Jupiter. We'll see that Jupiter is responsible for either changing the trajectories of asteroids coming in from the asteroid belt towards the Earth, or sometimes an asteroid coming towards the Earth from the asteroid belt collides with Jupiter, and it gets burnt in the atmosphere of Jupiter. Okay, then we have Venus. So Venus is the second nearest planet to the sun after Mercury. Okay, it has a dense cloudy atmosphere which will reflect light extremely efficiently, and because of this the planet looks very, very brilliant. That is the reason Venus is also known as the evening star. Okay, and there is a very important fact about the rotation of Venus, because it is retrograde. That means it is opposite to the general direction of rotations in the solar system. Right, that is the reason Venus is known as the Shukracharya, who is not following the path of the sun, but it is following the path, the other path, that is the retrograde path. Okay, the Devatas, they are always following the sun, but Venus, because the rotation of Venus is retrograde, that is opposite to the general direction of rotations in the solar system. So Venus is regarded as the Daitya Guru. That means he is not following the sun, he is actually going opposite to the sun. Okay. So next comes Saturn. So it is the last of the planets which are visible to the naked eye. Okay, and Saturn is a very light planet. Right, that is the reason you see Shanidev being depicted as a very frail old man. Okay, it has a diameter of around 120,000 kilometers, and being farthest away from the sun, Saturn is a cold planet. That is the reason why Saturn and Sun, they are regarded as enemies, because Saturn is always the farthest away from the sun. Okay, it is larger than the rest of the planets except Jupiter, of course, and it is about 100 times more massive than the Earth, and it has a very prominent presence of rings around it. Okay, and just like Jupiter, it has several moons, around 18 to 20 of them, which are revolving around the planet. Okay, and then there are other planets as well, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Okay, they need the help of a telescope for the identification, and that is one of the reasons why they are not included in Vedic astrology. The other reason why why these planets are not included is because these planets, they will always influence results on a community basis. Okay, but Vedic astrology is more individualistic in nature. How the planets are influencing the life of an individual, or how the planets are influencing the life of one person as compared to the other. But when you speak about Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, their movement will actually determine the direction of communities. Okay, how one community is dominating over the other community, how one community is perishing due to environmental needs, another community is surviving due to environmental intelligence. So all these factors are governed by Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. That is another reason why they are not included in Vedic astrology predictions. Okay, and because, as I said, they need the help, people need the help of a telescope to identify these planets, so they are not considered important in Vedic astrology. Okay, so I have few more things regarding the shlokas, but I'll not go into this today because it will be very, very heavy. Okay, so I just want all of you to digest this part, and I'll stop here today. So any questions?
Yeah, Devashiji, thank you for the class and the details. So regarding the four difficult Karanas,
Yeah.
The Shakunhi, did I say that right?
Shakuni is S-H-A-K-U-N-I, Shakuni.
So you said it's the second half of, it falls in the second half?
Yeah, it falls in the second half of Krishna Chaturdashi. That means the tithi just before Amavasya.
Acha, okay, in the second of Krishna Chaturdashi. Okay, so, okay, got it. And then what about Chatushpada Karana?
Chatushpada is on the first half of Amavasya.
the first part of Amavasya.
Yeah, and the Naga is on the second part of Amavasya.
Second half of Amavasya. Okay.
And Kinstugna is on the first half of Shukla Pratipad.
Shukla.
Pratipad. First Tithi is
Okay.
known as Pratipad. Yeah.
Shukla Pratipad. Okay, so two share for Amavasya, and then the first one is the second half of Krishna Chaturdashi and Kinstugna. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Kinstugna, yeah.
Is the first part of Shukla
Yeah,
Pratika?
Shukla Pratipad, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's very interesting.
Yeah, Suji.
Sir, I have a question regarding use of tithis for puja and such purposes, like say for Amavasya fasting or say Chaturthi or whatever. How does this work if it's like it goes from 2 days, like what you call as Vriddhi Tithi or a Shaya Tithi? Say, does that fast have to happen within the Tithi timings, like, or does it cover the day? Like, let's say the Tithi is there in the morning, but it ends at 10 o'clock.
No, you have to complete
Say,
for before 24 hours. Okay, suppose this question is good actually. Suppose you have a Ashtami Tithi and you are fasting on Ashtami Tithi. And you know the Ashtami Tithi starts from 12:30 on one day and then ends at 11:15 the next day. Okay.
correct.
So fast has to start from 12:30 and end at 11:15 if you are fasting for the whole day, that is. And then there are different kinds of, then there are different kinds of fastings as well. A tantric fast is much different from a Vedic fast. Okay. So when we fast, when I was taught fasting, I first learned it in the Vedic way. Right.
What is the difference, sir, if you don't mind telling?
The difference is that in Vedic fasting, you are not allowed to consume anything except water. Okay, even water is not recommended, but because
And the Nirjala, like the Nirjala fast that we have.
because we are in different heat zones. Some parts of the country they get heated up. The fast is the fast. People say that okay, you can take water, but other than water, you should not take anything. Okay, but nowadays people are actually filling their stomachs with sabudana. They're filling their stomach with fruits. They're filling with their stomach with milk. Some are also having tea. Okay, so that is not actually fasting. That is just deluding yourself if you are doing it in the Vedic way. But then tantric fasting is very, very interesting. Tantric fasting, when I was initiated into the Mahavidyas, I was actually taught tantric fasting, and I was amazed at how many things that you can consume. You can even consume cool drinks, you can even consume tea, you can even consume biscuits, but you cannot consume salt. So in tantric fasting, only salt consumption is not allowed. But you cannot consume grains. Okay, so grains are prohibited in both Vedic and tantric fasting. But that is how it works. And fasting can be done for different purposes. Okay, it can be done to appease the deity. Right, for example, suppose you have a relationship problem, then you are asked to fast on the 12th day of your, the day lauded by the 12th Vaidya Upapada Lord. Okay, so what happens is that the way that you are starving yourself, okay, the way that the body is starving itself, that whatever energy is generated, that energy is being donated to that graha or to that lord of that graha.
I see.
So that is the principle behind fasting. And then there are fastings for rituals also. Suppose you need to do a kriya done, a specific tantric kriya done, then maybe you will be on fast for say 3 to 7 days without salt, without grains and things like that. And some fastings are also done to improve the energies of planets. Suppose you have a debilitated Surya, or maybe you have a debilitated Mangala, then you're fasting to ensure that that the energies are actually balanced by your fast. So depending upon the different objectives, the fasts will be there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Device.
Yeah.
If someone has a question, I can wait. Okay. So regarding you said vritti,
Sorry.
regarding vitri.
Vriddhi and Shaya.
Okay, so maybe I need you to spell vritti.
Vriddhi, VRIDDHI.
BB for Bravo Bravo?
No. V for Violet. VRIDDHI.
No. VRI and then BB.
Double D. No, D is for Delhi.
Delhi. Okay.
or delicate.
Okay. Vriddhi Tithi. You said that is a Tithi that
That extends
start
before sunrise on
start
one day to
before
after sunrise on the next day.
and after sunrise the next day. And then you said Shaya Tithi begins after sunrise on one day and ends before sunrise on the next day, correct?
Right.
Okay, so then with that value, you were talking about though the Tithi that is at sunrise is considered the Tithi that rules over that.
Yeah, over that day. Yes.
So then in the case of a Shaya Tithi, what is the significance or something like that? Because it's not,
Because
rules-
see, you'll generally see Shaya Tithis in case of Pratipad. Okay, every time there is a Krishna Pratipad or every time there is a Shukla Pratipad, most of the Tithis, most of the Pratipad Tithis would be Shaya Tithis. Okay, because some Pratipad Tithis will last for only say 2 hours or 3 hours. Okay, you can check that out in any app. You have that Cosmic Insights app, don't you? So check that out. And there are certain significances of a Shaya Tithi. Shaya means an omitted or a deleted Tithi. Okay, so
what does it mean?
it means an omitted or a deleted Tithi. Okay,
Mhm.
so suppose you want to delete some person from your life, or maybe you want to delete an issue from your life. Suppose you are facing a bad health issue and you want to delete that issue, and then you are doing a tantric ritual for that. Then you use this Shaya Tithi, which will come in.
Okay.
Okay.
So just for, you talked about the 4 difficult karanas. Can you please go through the other ones that you mentioned? Because you mentioned them very quickly.
Yeah, one is Bhava. You can find a list on any app. Okay, there is Bhava, there is Balava, there is Kaulava, there is Taitula, there is
One
Gara.
second. One sec. Just for, do you have it written down?
I'll send it to you. I'll send you I'll send you the link to the names in the group.
Okay. You
No.
said Baba and then
Bhava,
Balaba.
then Balava, then Kaulava, then Taitula, then Gara, then Vanija, then Vishti.
Okay. Baba, like B-A-B-B-A.
V for violet, Bhava.
Baba and then Balava,
Then Kaulava.
Kolava, Tetula.
Then there is Taitulya.
Okay, I said Tetula.
Taitulya or Taitulya, both are correct. Then there is Gara. Okay, then there is Gara. Then there is Vanija, and then there is Vishti.
Vanija and Vishti.
Vishti, yeah.
Okay, I think someone was being really helpful in writing this for me. So that is so nice. Thank you.
You can find a
Shraddha.
list because the list is anyways the order is always the same. Okay, so you can always refer to it in any app. The app will be there in any app. The tithis, the karanas and the yogas will be mentioned.
Yeah, Devarshiji, but I want to stress the value comes when I get it when you say it. Otherwise, chasing app and chasing technology, it's not the same. Huh?
Yeah,
So I really,
it's not the same.
I say this to you, like hearing it from the teacher is hearing the voice of the teacher. The app, it's like a band-aid, So take it.
Right. Take it. Right.
So what about these tithis?
Did not get a question here.
So what is the concerning these tithis?
These are karanas. Okay, these are karanas.
I mean,
So
Karna. Yeah, sorry.
karanas will have a particular karana lord. Okay, so that the placement of the karana lord will actually give a lot of indication about your profession. Okay, so you always want your karana lord to be in an earth sign to get a good income from your profession. Okay, that is important. For example, suppose you have a Taitula karana. Okay, significance of the Taitula karana is that anyone having a Taitula karana will have 2 professions or more professions, 2 or more professions. And if that karana lord is in the earth sign, so the lord of Taitula karana is Mercury. Okay, the lord of Tetula Karana is Mercury. So anyone having a having born in Tetula Karana and having Mercury in earth sign, say in Taurus or maybe in Virgo, or maybe in Capricorn, that person is in a lot of that person is in for a lot of gains from his or her profession. Okay, suppose the Karana lord is in is in an air sign, then it is very, very destructive, because then you'll never have a sitting job. You'll be forced to move around from one place to the other. Okay, so I have a Karana lord in air sign, so I'm always traveling. Okay, either for work or for something else, but I'll always be traveling, right? But that is something how you adjust yourself. But earth, Karana lord in earth signs, it's the best.
So on these karnas, there's 8 of them here that I see, unless I missed
There are 7 of them.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, correct. Okay, 7. So do they correspond with?
Yeah, Baba Karana is ruled by the sun, Balava is ruled by the moon. Okay, Kaulava is ruled by Mars, Tetula is by Mercury, Gara is ruled by Jupiter, Vanija is ruled by Venus, and Vishti is ruled by Saturn. Okay, so Vishti Karana, as I said, is another difficult Karana to be born under, but still it is not as bad as the Karanas that are ruled by the nodes, Rahu and Ketu.
Mhm, mhm. So you said if a person is in an earth sign, that's stability for their career. An air sign.
That is good for their career. But
And then what about a water sign and a fire sign?
water sign is an indicative of the fact that the person is very, very the person is a very good blender in the work atmosphere or the work environment. The person can blend very easily. Okay, if it is in a water sign. If it is in a fire sign, then the person will change his or her professions repeatedly, because fire is always it's always trying to move up. It is the only thing on earth that that moves against gravity, if you look at it. And fire is so pure that if you pour something into fire, it'll either burn it out or it'll douse off by trying to burn it. Okay, so that person will always want growth in his or her work. Okay, and sometimes wanting too much growth can be destructive. Yes, there would be periods where there would be no growth, and that has to be accepted. But for someone who has a Karana lord in the fire sign, acceptance of of a mediocre job, or acceptance of something that okay, I can have a phase in my career where I'm not having any growth for say 2 to 3 years, but I'll still stay in this work because it is paying me good. So that that understanding is not there.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for taking that extra moment.
Okay, then all right, I don't see any questions coming in, and thank you everyone for joining in. It was really nice teaching to all of you. And
Thank you, sir.
yeah, we are having a very very bad weather conditions since the last 8 to 10 days. So last week we could not have any sessions, so we'll be completing Vishnu planets and Vishnu avatars this week. We'll have 2 sessions repeatedly, maybe on Tuesday and Friday. And as always, the recordings of this class would be uploaded on YouTube, possibly by tonight or by tomorrow, so that others who have missed it can log in as well. And yes, see you for the other live webinars. Okay.
Thank you so much, Devarshi.
Om Gurave Namaha.
Yes, sir.